Each of us has a place where we were intended to belong, where we are needed, where our story matters, where we can contribute to the community around us and they can contribute to us. God created us to be part of community. To be able to find that place and to know where we fit is so important, not only for our mental and emotional well-being, but there's actually science behind how it helps us physically. Do you want to achieve your goals, but anxiety is tripping you up? Like to keep those fun weekend plans, but depression has you counseling again? Hey, I'm Lori, dog mom, lover of nature, and hygge enthusiast. Positive psychology skills help me overcome chronic severe PTSD. If you're ready to learn how to overcome your anxiety and depression and rediscover happiness and purpose in life, then get your cozy on and let's get started. I am so excited to announce that the workshops are officially open for registration. Woohoo! The first one is Master Your Mindset, where you will learn 3 key mindset shifts that can help you manage your stress, decrease your anxiety, and lift your depression. A great way to start the holidays, right? You can register at calendly.com/practical solutions for PTSD. That's calendly.com/practical solutions for PTSD. You can look for the link as well in the comments below. It'll take you straight to the registration site. There will also be additional information coming out on Facebook, so keep your eyes open there. And I hope to see you in the workshops. It was a few years back, and I was filling out one of these questionnaires that talked about various aspects of what they call the wellness wheel. So there's things like fitness and sleep, nutrition, etc. And you answered all these questions, and it populated this fitness wheel to let you know how you were doing in that specific category. The one category that I failed at miserably, it was so low, was my social network. It was so low at that point. I was dealing with a lot of depression, anxiety. I believe this was before I had been officially diagnosed with PTSD. I didn't realize I had it at the time, but I was still dealing with a lot of the symptoms, specifically those of withdrawal and isolation. And when I realized how bad it was and how important it can be in your overall health and well-being, I knew it was something I needed to work on. So over the years, there are some things that I have done that has helped me rebuild my social network. It's still a work in action. I'm still working on this, but it's something I want to share with you guys, as well as the benefits that your social network can have for your mental and emotional well-being. I've mentioned this many times over the last few podcasts, but we are social creatures. That's how we were created to be. God designed us for connection. And when our relationships are healthy and grounded in love, and they don't just make a life more enjoyable, but they literally can strengthen our mental, emotional, and even our physical health. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about building your social network. And when I'm saying social network, I'm not talking about the virtual kind. There is a time and a place for virtual connection, and there's been a time that it's been very meaningful for me. But today we're going to talk about the physical social network. So the friends, family, coworkers, your church community, other forms of community that you have around you that see you on a regular basis and can check in with you. That's the people we're going to be talking about today. So the very first benefit that we see with social network is that it can reduce your stress and loneliness. So it's very simple, but very powerful. And when you're struggling, feeling anxious, stressed, or weighed down, just the act of talking to someone who truly listens can bring relief. And it's not just emotional relief, it actually brings biological relief. When we're connected with others, our body releases a feel-good hormone called oxytocin. It's a hormone that can calm the nervous system and reminds us that we're safe. The oxytocin hormone has also been nicknamed the cuddle hormone. So this is the same one that's released when you give or get or receive a hug, assuming that you enjoy those. I'm definitely a hugger, absolutely. So when you're hugged or you're giving a hug, it releases the oxytocin hormone. Another way that people use that in treatment of anxiety and depression, I've done it myself, is using a weighted blanket. That weight on your chest and your abdominal areas can help trigger that oxytocin hormone, because it gives you that feeling of being safe and snuggled in and wrapped up tight. And And so that feel good hormone, or that connection that makes you feel safe and warm, is the oxytocin that's emitted, is emitted when you're connecting with people. And God's wired us that way. If you look at in Genesis, for those of you that are Christians and followers of Christ, in Genesis, it talks about the fact that it's not good for man to be alone. And yes, he was referring to marriage here, in part at least, but he also meant community. We are created to belong. And you see this also in the life of Christ. When Christ was born, he was born into a family, a mother, a father, brothers and sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins. He was raised in this community in the city of Nazareth, where he was part of that. He was a member of that community. But then also you see it in his ministry. He had 12 disciples that were very close to him. And within that 12, he had three of them that were his inner circle. He also had women and children that would follow him in his ministry and care for his needs and the needs of his disciples. And he lived life with them. He laughed with them. He shared meals with them. He prayed with them. He even wept with them. These were his people, the people that he walked through life with. So when you're working on connection and building that connection, not only does it help you physically, emotionally, mentally, but it's also, this is how God has designed us and what we're intended to do. So it's a very good thing. So how do you go about building that community? Well, we need to take intentional action, especially if you're in a place where you're just instinctively retreating from that. Now, I don't want you to push yourself beyond what you can handle. You need to take this small steps at a time and don't push yourself beyond that. But you need to take intentional actions. So maybe text a friend or invite someone to coffee. You could join a small group, join a Bible study, connect with a sports team in your area. You do something where you're connecting intentionally. And don't wait till you feel 100% ready. Sometimes you just have to take it as you are. Just take that step. You don't have to be perfect. It does not have to be perfect, but just take a step and work on it and build those connections. And if you're in a place like I was, where you once had connections and many of those have been lost due to neglect, where you've retreated from society, same thing works, is just taking those intentional actions to reconnect with people that you knew before. But you do need to understand when you're doing that, their life has continued on. So in many ways, it's almost like starting a brand new relationship. Yes, there are ties that go back years ago, but if you have withdrawn from that person or there's been a big gap, both of y'all's lives have gone on without that connection. So you kind of have to start over in some senses to be able to rebuild that connection, but take those intentional actions to do that, and it pays off in the long run. The second way that your social support network can help you is that it strengthens your resilience. Now, we all face storms. Everybody does. Trauma, loss, fear, disappointment. Your story is going to be different from my story, but trauma, loss, fear, disappointment, it's all there. So in some fashion, some way, if we have lived in this life for very long, we have dealt with negative experiences. Life can be pretty tough at times. And being able to come along beside someone, or have that person come along beside you and remind you that you've got this, or I believe in you, or God believes in you, God is faithful. I can see this in you when you can't see it yourself, or I can see where you're growing when sometimes you're so lost in the midst of the darkness or the difficulty that you don't see the progress that has been made. And sometimes growth is slow. And so, like months down the road, all of a sudden you've made this huge progress and you don't really see it. But having that person to come along beside you say, hey, things are better. You're making progress. You're taking that step. It can help you. And Ecclesiastes tells us that two are better than one. It's if one falls, the other one can pick him up. And this is very practical. Yes, it's poetic, but it's also very practical. And research shows that people with strong social support recover faster from stress, depression, and even physical illness. So when someone is listening to you without judgment, or takes the time to pray for you, to pray with you, however that may be, to send you a text, a phone call, your brain literally begins to calm down. There's a sense of safety there that helps your body move from fight or flight and to rest and repair. So while you may have been in a season where you feel like you had to try it all on your own, I was in the same place. One of the reasons I withdrew from people, a part of it, yes, I had a hard time handling them, but in large part is because I didn't want to burden them with the darkness that I was in, or because everybody has their own problems, they have their own life. I didn't want to just dump this on them as well. But had I understood what I understand now, I would have pulled them in much sooner and incorporated them into this. But taking those intentional moves and helping them to step in closer to you and being real in that moment, being vulnerable and helping them to step into your life, and you doing the same thing for them. This is when real healing begins to happen, when you're bringing others into your story. And that could be a counselor, a pastor, a friend, however that community looks like, bringing people in to help walk with you through that. So how do you go about doing this? Well, the practical side of this is to be vulnerable and real with the people in your circle. So you don't have to have it all together. And this is coming from a recovering perfectionist who likes to have everything perfect. And since I'm never quite at perfect, sometimes I often have felt that I couldn't show up because it wasn't perfect. And this is something I've learned very up close and personal through this journey. People don't really care if you're perfect. They just want you to be there. They just want you to show up. And they're willing to be there for you. And the more authentic and vulnerable you are, it encourages them to be the same thing. And again, as I said earlier, all of us have gone through hard times. We've all had struggles and fears and loss and trauma. And if you will let down your guard and be open and authentic and vulnerable to the people in your circle, it gives them permission and ability to reciprocate and to do the same thing, to be open and honest as well. And you can build connection there. But also, if you're in a place, I know when I first started going back to church after I'd been out for several months, I didn't have the emotional or physical mental capacity to figure out, nice fancy outfits to wear. Sometimes I could hardly deal with my hair, much less anything else. And that to hear someone say, Lori, we don't care what you wear or what your hair looks like. We just want you to be there. It helped me to be more resilient, to come back from that and to re-engage and to be open and honest. And sometimes I would show up in, my just basic everyday clothes, but I was there and it was a step in the right direction. So when you're open and honest, it lets other people know that they can be as well, and you can build that safe space between you where you can have authenticity and reality in your friendships and your social network. The third way that your social network can help you with your mental, emotional, and even physical health is by healthy habits. Habits are contagious, right? So bad habits would be as well, but in this case, we're talking about healthy habits. So if you're hanging around someone and they're constantly talking about, they're working on incorporating more vegetables, or they're looking for those, berries that are so rich in antioxidants, or they want to start a new exercise program, or they're looking at, reading this book, or like last night we were in a Bible study and the leaders talked about challenging us to read books on prayer and to develop a deeper and richer prayer life and how to bring Bible-based meditation into that process. So when you're hearing this from other people, you're much more likely to incorporate it into your own life. And Proverbs actually tells us you walk with the wise, you become wise. You become who you hang around with. You start reflecting the character traits of the people that you hang with. So this is very important that you surround yourself with people who share values with you. So, they value peace or prayer, growth, health, whatever that may be, whatever your core values are. To be able to have people around you that reflect those values will help you to establish habits, because those habits will rub off from the people around you. And vice versa. Obviously, the habits that you're building will help rub off on other people as well. So maybe your friend invites you to a Bible study, or you go out on a morning walk, or they encourage you to rest instead of overworking. Yay! Making sure you're getting to bed on time and getting that full, 6 to 9 hours, whatever you need. Making sure you're getting enough rest. It begins to have a ripple effect on each other. Like you impact each other, the health and wellness of each other. And that's a very good thing. Now, one thing when you're talking about hanging around with people, The people you hang around with will either help you to grow or will drain you. So it becomes really important that you make sure the people that you are around are those that build you up. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't ever spend time with people that take a lot out of you. There are times and places for that. But make sure that one, that you're setting healthy boundaries in place to make sure that you're not allowing it to go too far or not allowing to push in too far on that. But the other side of that is to make sure that you're feeding back into yourself when you have something that drains you. So it may be in a position that you're really pouring into someone's life, and that's a good thing to do. We need to do that. Or it's someone who really drains you, or maybe you're trying to help someone, encourage someone that's very negative, and it really just saps the energy right out of you. Make sure that you're either hanging around with someone who's going to fill you back up, that you spend time reading a good book or getting into the Bible, or that you're, doing something that brings you joy and fills your tank back up. So for me, that'd be like spending time outside in my garden, taking the dog for a walk along the river, doing something like that that's going to fill my tank back up so that I'm not just completely depleted. So setting boundaries is a really, really, really important to make sure that you have healthy relationships. So it includes space of rest and respect for the other person, and they protect you and the other person as well. We've talked a lot about this. We're going to talk more about boundaries in the future, but boundaries are very important to set in relationships to keep them healthy. Even in really strong relationships with people that pour into you, that add to your life, you still need to have boundaries there. So boundaries are a really good thing to have in relationships, and it's a practical way to be able to get where you're sharing healthy habits and building those healthy habits and making sure they're contagious, but you have good boundaries in place as well. And setting boundaries could be a habit that you're sharing, a healthy habit that you're sharing. So the fourth way that your social support network can help you and your emotional, mental, and physical well-being is it can boost your self-worth. So one of the biggest drivers of anxiety and depression today is loneliness. And this is in spite of the fact that we have so much social media everywhere. People are constantly connected and they have very little time where they're just decompressing by themselves without something going on in the background. But in spite of that, you find people that feel so unseen and unimportant and disconnected from their community. But we're supposed to belong. God created us to belong, to be needed, that knowing that your story matters. And you see this in the book of Romans when Paul's talking about the church and how each one of us are a member of the body of Christ, and that we each have a role and we're each important, and we support each other within that body of Christ. Every single person has an important role to fill. God has a calling, a mission, a purpose for that individual, and that includes you. You have a place that you belong, that you can fulfill, that is important and matters, and something that you're skilled at and that you're good at. And your story matters. Everybody matters and is important. It has a place to belong. So when you find a safe community, maybe it's a small group, a church family, a few trusted friends, whatever that could be, you begin to heal from the lie that you're too much or you're not enough, because God created you with the gifts and the character strengths that you have for a reason. He has a purpose for you to fulfill. And healthy connections remind you that you are loved as you are. You don't need to be someone else. God created you to be the person that you are, and you can be loved just like that. And that gives your heart and mind and a place and room to rest and to heal, because you're not keeping up that front and trying to pretend that you're someone else. So what are some practical ways that you can integrate this into building your relationships? One of those is to pray for the people that are in your circle. Pray that God helps them to find their place and their purpose. Pray for those who need encouragement and build them up. And if you're not a person who prays, you're not in a relationship with Christ, you can use this as a time, get to know them and write them notes of encouragement and try to boost them through that way. Prayer can build both spiritual and emotional connection with people. And you can also take that into the other realm I was talking about by writing them a note, get to know them a little bit better, figure out what makes them tick, and help them to find their purpose and where they can serve the best. Speaking of serving, that brings us to number 5. Is the ways that social support network can help you to be stronger. And that is giving back. It deepens your joy and your purpose. So relationships are not all about receiving. Yes, when you're in a place of depression, anxiety, etc., you need people to speak into your life. But one of the best things you can do is to speak into someone else's life. And we've all heard this a million times. It's more blessed to give than to receive. And it really is. Being able to give to someone and to find them get joy out of that and for it to meet a need in their own lives has such, well, they actually call it a helper's high. And it's a natural sense of peace and joy that comes from living with purpose, from being able to help other people. So it could be volunteering, maybe you offer to pray for someone, simply checking in with a friend if they've been silent too long, or maybe you just want to say hello, find out someone needs some help, so maybe you can help them out financially, maybe you can swing by and do some chores for them and help them out in the tough time that they're in. But when you're showing love, you're also strengthening your own spirit. This is one where you're giving and you receive as much as or more than what you gave away. So a great, fantastic way to do that, to be able to boost your mental and emotional well-being is by giving back. And this could be, it's in those practical ways we've already talked about, but you can volunteer as a group. This can be a lot of fun. So we do this, we have a ladies group in our church, and once a quarter, we quote adopt a home mission pastor, and we'll send them notes and send them small gifts just as a way of encouraging them. And it helps us as a ladies group because we come together, we have a common mission that we're coming together to be able to minister and speak into this person's life. So volunteering as a group can be super helpful. Find someone in need and speak into their life can make a big difference. You can start with something simple, a simple outreach project that you can figure out either within your church and your community and your family, wherever that may be, a friend. But having a shared purpose amongst you, like getting a group together to do it together, is such a great way to strengthen bonds. So we're getting into the holiday season. Next month is Thanksgiving. Can you believe that? It's already November. It's crazy. But we're right there, like we're Thanksgiving. So it could be something that as a family or as a group that you find a homeless shelter and go serve them meals. Or you get together and raise money for gifts for children whose parents are in prison or, whatever. There's lots of ways that you can do this and get a group together, and that can even deepen those bonds as you're giving back to people around you. So some fantastic ways that your social network can help support you and increase healing, bring healing and peace and joy into your life by having people around us. There's this beautiful passage in Psalms. It says, God sets the lonely or the solitary in families. And I just love that. God does not intend for us to be alone. He has a family that he wants us to be a part of. And it may not be a biological family, and that's perfectly fine. You can make family out of those people you're close to, the friends, connections, whatever that may look like. God can place you in a group like that. And if you reach out and begin to form bonds with people, you may find that there's someone on the other side that is also looking for connection and for that family. And as you build it together, you can help each other out. And you never know. You could create a great friendship this way. So I hope this helps you out. It helps you know some of the benefits of having a social support network. All these things, I've tried all of these, they all work. It takes some time and some investment on your end, but I promise you it'll pay off in huge dividends. Just a quick reminder that you can register for the Master Your Mindset workshop. The link is in the comments below. All future updates for the workshops will be provided via Facebook or email, and I look forward to seeing you. Hey, my friend, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you please take 30 seconds and share it with someone you know who may be struggling with depression and anxiety? Also, would you please leave a quick review for the show? Knowing how this podcast is helping you fills my heart with so much joy, and it motivates me for future episodes. For now, it's time for Sam and I to head outside to enjoy some sunshine and fresh air. We'll see you back here on Tuesdays and Thursdays for more great episodes.